You know how we have to start this, right? You have to say bonjour.
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 Bonjour. Bonjour.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. You have a little bonjour on your eye. 2, 3. Bonjour. 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 We were just there. I forgot how we said it. How do they say it?
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Oh, you just spit in my eye.
Bonjour.
Bonjour. Bonjour. Oui, oui.
That was a good one.
Oh, that was good. Okay. If you're planning a trip to the City of Lights, you're in the right place to get some recommendations. The enchanting capital of France is a bucket list city for many, where history, art, and romance are seamlessly woven together to create a truly unforgettable experience.
As you walk its charming streets and admire its elegant cityscape, you'll find yourself immersed in a living tapestry of culture, architecture, and cuisine.
Today we'll do our best to include spots and activities that maybe aren't as obvious as some of the Parisian staples, though admittedly, some of our favorite portions of this trip were the more touristy spots. Depending on where you're at in your trip research and planning, it's likely that you're already familiar with the Eiffel Tower, the Louvre Museum, Montmartre, Notre Dame Cathedral, the Seine, and those sorts of places, and you're probably planning to visit them as well. We got a chance to check out all those spots and certainly enjoyed them, but for the purposes of this video, we're gonna assume you're already going to those spots.
We spent about 4.5 days in Paris on our honeymoon at the end of April and the beginning of May, and we were able to do and see a lot in that short period of time. In this video, we'll be sharing 4 of our absolute favorite spots and things that we did on that trip in hopes that you find something interesting and fun for you on your first or next visit to Paris. Also, stick around till the end of the video for an extra bonus recommendation.
The recommendations we'll be giving are by no means meant to be a comprehensive guide of everything that you can see and do in Paris, but rather a list of our personal favorite spots that we were able to enjoy on our brief visit there. Any links to attraction tickets, websites, and Google Maps listings will be listed in the description, as well as on the screen where applicable.
Also, if you find this video helpful, please consider subscribing because we have many more videos like this to come. Located in the 7th arrondissement and only a few steps from the Eiffel Tower is Rue Claire. Rue Claire is a beautiful market street that has every element of what you might imagine a Parisian street has, and it has everything you'll need for a picnic in front of the Eiffel Tower. There are cafes, boulangeries, fromageries, and many specialty shops where you can pick up French delicacies such as cheese, fresh fruit, flowers, coffee. This is also a great place to check out if you're staying in or near the 7th arrondissement and need snacks to carry with you throughout a day of exploring, or maybe snacks to bring back to your hotel or Airbnb. Walking down Rue Claire is magical. You'll get the scent from fresh food and pastries, and you'll be able to admire the vibrant colors of all the fresh flowers decorating the shops. My favorite stop during our visit was the fromagerie or cheese shop. The man working the counter was nice enough to let us sample every kind of cheese. He made recommendations to help us narrow down to a few that we wanted to buy, and that was not an easy task. And with your cheese, you must buy a baguette. Pro tip for buying a baguette: when you walk into a shop, ask for a baguette tradition. The tradition must be made with the traditional ingredients of flour, yeast, salt, and water. Nothing else. A standard baguette or a baguette ordinaire may include more or lesser quality ingredients, and in my opinion, just isn't as tasty. I've dreamt of having a picnic in front of the Eiffel Tower since I was a little girl, and stopping at Rue Claire made it fun and easy to make that dream come true.
Palace of Versailles is a must-see when visiting Paris. I feel as though this is a little bit of a toss-up for most people visiting Paris, as it's not an activity that's right in the city center, and the journey to get to Versailles might seem a little bit intimidating to some, but we are specifically here to tell you that the effort to get to Versailles is well worth it, and it's really not all that hard. The palace is only a short 30 to 40 minute train ride away from the city center of Paris, depending on where you're staying, and then the subsequent walk from the train station at Versailles to the Palace of Versailles Versailles is about 15 to 20 minutes. So on either end of this trip, you're looking at 45 minutes to an hour. When we arrived in Paris, we bought a booklet of metro tickets that we could use throughout the city. This is a separate train that goes out to Versailles, so you will need to get a separate ticket on what is called the RER line. We purchased these train tickets the day of at the train station that we departed from. I think they were about €4 per person per direction, so round trip we spent about 16 euros. The company that runs these trains, SNCF, has self-serve kiosks at most of their train stations, which are pretty straightforward to use. But if you have any issues with the kiosks or just want to talk to somebody, go to the ticket booth, tell them you want a round trip ticket to Versailles, and they'll be able to help you out there. Okay, so now about Versailles. The palace itself dates back to the 17th century and was once home to French royalty and political leaders before becoming a major tourist attraction. Many important world events have taken place here, including the signing of the Treaty of Versailles, which took place in the Hall of Mirrors in 1919 and signaled the end of World War I. Though the palace itself is a must-see, an equal, if not greater amount of time should be allocated to seeing the gardens on the grounds. You could spend a full day alone just wandering through the nearly 2,000 acres that date back to 1624, admiring the French formal landscaping style, beautiful fountains, and sculptures. The grounds are actually so big that they offer the ability to rent a golf cart to get around them quicker. It's not super cheap to rent one at 38 euros per hour, but we definitely saw a fair few people cruising around on them and seeming to have a great time. The Grand Canal is by far the most picturesque spot on the property and the best place to admire the gardens. Back in his day, King Louis XIV used to row boats around this small canal, and if you'd like to do the same, you can rent a boat at 19 euros per hour. We got little baguette sandwiches at a takeaway cafe near the canal and went and sat and enjoyed them by the water. There are actually multiple options for food on the grounds, including some sit-down options, though we certainly recommend taking the picnic by the water route. Getting entry into the gardens is actually a separate ticket from getting entry into the palace, but getting a combination ticket is incredibly easy. One thing to note about purchasing tickets for Versailles is that they are timed entry tickets specifically for the palace, so you will be required to pick an entry time to do your tour of the palace itself. We'll include the exact ticket we purchased through Get Your Guide in the description below, as well as somewhere up here. We certainly recommend purchasing these tickets ahead of time, not only so that you have a better chance of getting the palace entry time that you want, but because these tickets do tend to sell out. Even though the palace was fairly busy during our visit there, the gardens outside certainly felt a lot less congested just because of the vast amount of space that people have to spread out, which is why we recommend spending just as much time outside as you do inside at the Palace of Versailles.
If you're in Paris for any amount of time, you have to see the spectacle that is the Moulin Rouge. Located on one of the bustling outskirts streets of Montmartre, the outside of the theater is worth checking out even if you're not into musicals or cabarets. The building that stands today isn't the original, as the original burnt down in 1915 but was rebuilt in 1921 and stands just as beautiful, vibrant, and spectacular as the original. Walking into the building, you will be fully immersed into a world of red carpets, nostalgic artwork, champagne, and employees dressed to the nines. The show itself is a can-can review show filled with dancers, singers, performers, variety acts, and the costumes and set pieces are absolutely mesmerizing. The variety acts that take place between the dance numbers were our favorite part of the show. They had a balance and handstand duet routine and a routine where a couple did amazing tricks on roller skates. All of these acts are insane displays of strength, coordination, and balance that completely blew our minds. The official Moulin Rouge website says formal wear is required. I wore a jumpsuit, Brian wore khaki pants, a button-up, and sneakers. We found most people were dressed up, but we also saw people in jeans and leggings, and they were fine. It's a fun experience to dress up for, but don't stress if you can't fit your nicest outfit in your suitcase. If you think you'll want a drink or champagne at the show, we recommend buying a drink ticket online with your show ticket. We'll include the Get Your Guide link where we purchased our tickets in the description below and somewhere up here. If you can fit this into your Parisian agenda, we highly recommend going.
If you're comfortable with somewhat eerie and and macabre settings, you would absolutely love the Catacombs of Paris. The catacombs are a vast network of underground tunnels and chambers that sit about 20 meters or 66 feet beneath the city of Paris and stretch for approximately 200 miles or 320 kilometers. They were originally ancient quarries which were used to mine a specific type of limestone that they called Paris stone, which was used to build the growing city above, including parts of the Louvre. During this time, Paris's population was growing and expanding, and in turn, so were their cemeteries, many of which were within the city limits. By the late 18th century, these cemeteries had become overcrowded and unsanitary, posing significant health risks to the city's population. In response, authorities made the controversial decision to relocate the bones from these cemeteries down into the now abandoned quarries beneath the city. The process of transferring these bones began in 1786 and took several years to complete. Skulls and bones were stacked in neat patterns, forming walls and pillars throughout the catacombs, often accompanied by inscriptions and plaques commemorating the deceased. Today, visitors to Paris can explore a small portion of this eerie underground realm. The experience of visiting the catacombs is a really unique blend of historical significance, artistic arrangement, and a sobering reminder of mortality as you walk past the skulls and bones of nearly 6 million people who used to inhabit the city above you. Now, there is a little bit of physical activity involved in visiting the catacombs, including taking 131 stairs down into the catacombs and then 112 back up at the end. You'll also be doing a bit of walking, as the length of the tunnel that is open to the public is roughly 1,500 meters or just under a mile from end to end. We definitely recommend buying tickets in advance because this is another timed entry ticket experience, and these tickets do tend to sell out. I'll include a link to the tickets that we used down in the description below, as well as somewhere up here. The tickets that we used came with an audio guide, which we felt added a lot to the overall experience. Probably not the best use of your time in Paris if you don't fare well in dimly lit spaces underground surrounded by human bones, with the only entry and exit points being at the end of a 1-mile tunnel. But if none of those things are a problem for you and it's really not as bad as I just made it sound, we definitely recommend checking out the catacombs, as it's probably the most unique museum-like experience you'll ever have.
We couldn't go an entire recommendation video without giving you a coffee recommendation, could we? This time we'll keep it to one spot, which is called Noir Coffee. There appear to be a handful of these all over Paris, but we went to the one that's near Rue Claire many times and we loved it. Great aesthetic, super nice baristas, and most importantly, quality coffee. I'm a drip and filter coffee girl through and through, and theirs hit the spot. So skip out on finding the nearest Starbucks and check out Noir.
Okay, so hopefully you were able to get at least a little something out of these recommendations. Again, this is by no means a comprehensive guide to everything you can see and do in Paris. These are just a handful of things that we enjoyed during our brief visit there.
If you'd like to check out a full highlight reel of our time in Paris, we'll throw a link up here and in the description so you can check it out.
We have many more highlight reels and videos such as this one coming out from our honeymoon, which consisted of 6 main stops over the course of 3 weeks in Europe. So if you like this video, please consider liking the video and subscribing to the channel, as it'll play a huge role in helping us go on future trips and make more videos like this one.
Also, if you end up checking out any of the spots we recommended in this video, we'd love to hear about it. Please come back, leave a comment, and tell us what you thought. Thank you so much for watching, and travel safe.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir.
Au revoir. Au revoir.
Au revoir.